This is VikesNow with Dustin Baker. It's the Saturday, April 30th edition. Last night, we had rounds 2 and 3 of the draft, and we followed up the controversy of the Lions trade, which was, you guessed it, an interdivisional trade with about 16, 17 minutes into round 2. The Vikings traded with the Packers, and it was really the only way you could top the controversy of the night before with the trade that was like, yeah, who won, lost that? By trading with the Packers. And as soon as that happened, you knew that was the inlet valve for the Packers to, alas, draft a wide receiver. Because right now, they're sitting with Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, and some Winfrey dude. Not Oprah, but some other Winfrey dude. So the Vikings handed Christian Watts, a guy from this neck of the woods, to the Packers. And that's where we're at. And that's what I want to talk about before we get into the picks. So, believe it or not, based on value, out of all three of the trades for the Vikings, you have the Lions, the Packers, and the Colts trade. Three of them so far in this event. The Packers was the best one according to value from all draft trade calculators. We talked about these last night, that the old ones, the Jimmy Johnson or the Rich Hill, didn't like the Kwesi trade with the Lions. But the analytical ones, the PFF, the OTC, those were okay with it. Well, this one with the Packers, universally, just fine. Vikings won it based on value. But here is why folks were upset, and to an extent, rightfully so. I don't have a beef with this happening. I have the anxiety that you all have, that the cynicism from the Minnesota sports that you say, well, of course, now that this happened, Watson's going to be a Hall of Famer. I have that ingrained in me too. So I'm not going to be righteous here. But this is tricky for fans to digest because the burden of proof now lies with the Vikings because it's a wide receiver. It's a very marketable, flashy position that goes to the Packers with a Hall of Fame quarterback that they'll probably have for 3 more years. It's not just some guard they're going to shimmy in there, and nobody would care if that guard went to 6 or 7 Pro Bowls. You're going to have to watch certifiable touchdowns from Watson, perhaps against the Vikings, and every time something positive happens from Watson, it just twists the knife a little bit more. Doesn't matter if he has 60 catches, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. Every single one of those plays is going to be like, oh, we traded, look what we did. Every single highlight of Watson doing something good is going to bring out pitchforks from some sections of this fan base. So that part is miserable. And because folks don't, not you, but other folks in the masses don't have the context or the patience or the wherewithal to examine all of the parts of the trade, it's always going to be the Vikings gave Watson to the Packers. So that part sucks because we can only erase so much of the narrative there. For example, let's say Watson in 2024 has 1,200 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns, and that's his best season. He gets hurt, and the rest of the career he spends trying to replicate his third year, or whatever the example I just gave. All you're going to think about is the one good season he had and the high-flying, speedy touchdowns that he accrues, because that's all people will want to remember about this trade is the, oh yeah, it's like the Randy Moss motivation that he needed when he was younger. Was it 21 other teams passed on him, including the Cowboys and Packers? So anytime he stepped on the field, he wanted to stick it to him. Now, Watson won't have that, but the people that want the Vikings to be wrong about this trade will. So every first down that Watson gets, every time he has a 25-yard catch against the Vikings, it's going to be oh, I can't believe that we did that. I can't believe we gave him that guy. So you're going to have to live with that. That's what I thought as soon as I saw his name, and we just knew it was going to be a wide receiver, didn't we? That's what I thought when I saw his name come across the bottom of my television. It's like, son of a bitch. Now I have to live with this comparison for a long time. Now the Vikings, for sensible people that look at the whole product and that are more than just surface skimmers, if Andrew Booth turns out to be marvelous, then this will be negated. If the other picks, let's see, who did they get as a result? They traded back from 59. I think they got Asmoa, however you say the linebacker's last name from Oklahoma. So if those picks turn out as wonderful, then that can ease the pain of Watson to Green Bay. But again, those are positions that if they just do their job and go to Pro Bowls, it's like cool. Only football guys like you and me know about it. The people that put butts in seats are the guys like Christian Watson. So it's a nasty derivative of the trade they're just going to have to deal with. And the same thing goes to Jamison Williams, but it's just a little dampened because he's on the Lions and he's not set up to succeed as much as Watson is with Rodgers and the Packers, who just win the division every year. And the Vikings also gave the Colts Alec Pierce as part of that trade. So they outfitted 3 teams with wide receivers. I don't know if Pierce will be a WR1, but there's a lot of draft pundits that sure as hell liked him. So the trade is messy. It's going to be messy forever unless Watson flat out sucks. If he doesn't get off the ground, you'll just have to live through 2 or 3 years of him making a catch. And people will just like, oh, look at Watson. Look at him in Green Bay. He had 78 yards this game. Wish the Vikings could have had that. You're going to have to deal with that for at least 3 years to figure out if this guy's a real commodity. That's my take on the trade. On the picks, on Andrew Booth, we'll just go through these quick. Don't want to keep you up too long, or you probably watch us during the day. Don't want to bore you, I should say. Andrew Booth thing is especially cool because there is a sensible thought process that believes he could have been gone in the top 15 or so. But he had a couple injury concerns, and he's one of those proverbial guys that fell down the board. So the Vikings basically traded back for, how many picks was that? A handful of picks from Green Bay to get Booth. And if you can get a cornerback who was supposed to be in the first round after a trade back in the second round, it's awesome. But just like any other draft stuff, it all matters. It only matters if Booth goes out there and is good. Right now, predicting whether or not a draft trade or a draft class in general is only fun to listen to talk about, to write about, to read about. Because it's exciting to speculate or to theorize. But the proof will be in the pudding, just like it will for the next 2 prospects. So Booth, that one's a positive. I don't think anybody really has any big beef with that. The funny part about that is in order to do the trade with the Colts, that was actually a messier trade for the Vikings. That one wasn't as dazzling as the Packers was in terms of value, but because it was so immediate in the Vikings, you could see the fruit of the trade was Booth, and it was to an AFC team, nobody cared. It was all like, sweet, we got a starting cornerback, we traded with the Colts. So it'll continue to be the bedfellows the Vikings had with these 2 trades, the Lions and Packers, that will dictate how the narrative is for quite some time. Kwesi came in, adjusted the analytics, and says, I don't really give a shit if I can't trade with division rivals. I'm going to do it anyway. It'll be a huge, huge test to figure out if he's right or not. The next pick, the guard, Ed Ingram from LSU. Oh boy, that one comes with baggage, to say the least. It's even dicey to talk about because if I would have had this YouTube show 1 year ago, and Jeff Gladney got arrested in Texas, which did happen, and I did a show with that subject, it would be very tempting, based on the allegations, which seem credible, maybe they were, I don't know, to do a show about how terrible his violence against women was. We were piled on before the justice system had anything to do with it, and that would have been the take, that the Vikings need to get rid of this guy because these things seem too credible and it's too heinous what he did. Well, you fast forward, if you had some patience, to about a year after, and what was it, 10 months, and the guy was acquitted, exonerated. Now he plays for the Cardinals. So just like the draft trades, we don't have patience to allow stuff like that to pan out. So the believability for Ed Ingram, it's just a huge, you have to surmise that LSU did the right thing and let him play after no wrongdoing was found. And in addition, or with Kwesi on the mic tonight, said that they went through their process and they felt comfortable. He repeated the same line, diplomatic answer to about 3 different dudes, reporters who were in the room that were really needling about the allegations against Ingram. So that leaves Joe Schmoes and like me and you going, well, I don't know. If I say like, yeah, the judicial system didn't charge him, then it makes me look like I just want him to be good at football and I want him to win games for my team. But of course you have that empathy or that eyebrow raised, say, well, there must have been some smoke with that fire. So, yeah, I'm not going to give you a strong opinion on Ed Ingram. It would be nice if they didn't draft somebody that had sexual misconduct baggage attached to him. If you want to read the details, I'm not going to talk about them on here because they're gross and they got family around. You can go to Deadspin. They did some article about the details of what he did, and they're not fun to read. He was 16 years old, and, yeah, I have no idea if there was credence to it. The legal system didn't really think so, and that's about all I can do is say, all right, well, he got a clean bill of go play football from LSU, and now he was drafted by the Vikings, so I do not know. I don't know if it was a miscommunication, if he was truly guilty, but he was a juvenile and he didn't have a comeuppance. No clue. So you have to pick a side or just wiggle through the middle like I'm doing right now and hope that the team that you enjoy isn't doing Browns-ish things with known predators. On the football side, he's a second-round guard. He sure as shit better be ready to start. Now we got 5 dudes. Summer battle, 5 guys. Jesse Davis, Wyatt Davis, Chris Reed, Oli Udoh, second-rounder Ed Ingram. If they can't find one guy to rise from the ashes of the last 4 seasons at right guard to protect Cousins out of this fivesome, then it truly is a curse, and it had nothing to do with Spielman or Zimmer. It will have been like the North Star curse, that they can't for the life of them find a damn guard who can be good. Out of 5 guys, you got to find a good one. When we did this episode 3 weeks ago about the 4 guys, I said one could be average. Now there's 5, and one has second-round pedigree, among other things, attached to his resume. So you got to find a good one now. 5 football players that have devoted their life to playing a specific position called right guard. I think it's in good hands. It better be, because if not, it's just mind-boggling that this spot is habitually bad since Joe Berger left. So I don't know if he'll start, but I'll say it again. If he's a second-round pick, which he was before Asamoah from Oklahoma, a linebacker, second-round guards, they start soon in their careers. So if Ingram gets out of this allegations, I don't think it's not even a hole anymore. He's in the free and clear. It's just a matter of what you think about him and what I think about him. If more details come out or he's vindicated more properly, then you cheer for him to be the right guard from a football standpoint. And last, night number 2 was the linebacker Brian Asamoah. You can type in the comments if I'm screwing up that name. It took me a long time to get Kene Nwangwu correct. But yeah, that one's super fun because he's fast as hell. And Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks aren't really fast. They're damn good football players, but Asamoah brings another dimension, and he also reduces your panic meter. I've talked on this show a couple times about Kendricks, Hicks, then what? Ryan Connolly, Blake Lynch, Troy Dye. That out of one of those guys, hopefully one blossoms into an eventual quasi starting average, like a Nick Vigil type. That's what you hope one of those guys will based on their draft stock. Asamoah, on the other hand, he should be good. He was picked at the top of the 3rd round. A lot of mock drafts had him in the 2nd. I think on consensus big boards, he was a bit of a reach for the Vikings, so it's just kind of that, which mock draft you believe. But I like this pick because, A, he doesn't have any allegations attached to his name, which was a nice little whew after Ingram came across the board, and Luke Braun tweeted what he did about the allegations or how he didn't even bother scouting him because he saw that garbage attached to the file. So, yeah, there was relief that we didn't get another suspect character guy like we used to have in the mid-2000s all the time. But the number one thing that I like is that he brings instant depth. I don't know if he's a day 1 starter. Usually in that early 3rd round, it's a tender spot, but you would think they should be ready on day 1. I guess we'll have to see how the summer goes. But if Eric Kendricks is injured for any part of the season, gets COVID or something, same with Hicks, you've got a guy. You don't have just some late rounder like Lynch or Connolly. You've got Asamoah who should. He's got the athleticism. He made the freak list from The Athletic. There's a dude who puts out a freakish abilities list each draft cycle, and Asamoah was on there because he's fast. So yeah, I like the fact that in theory you could play him if needed in an emergency or an injury scenario. It's late in my neck of the woods. Tomorrow should be fun. That's rounds 4 through 7. It won't be as plentiful because Rick Spielman doesn't work here anymore. But yeah, we'll start to piece together where these guys from the whole draft fit within the roster. I expect because Kwesi has traded like a madman, he'll do it again tomorrow. Maybe stockpile some stuff for next year. That would be kind of neat. I tweeted this about 2 or 3 hours ago. Every single draft pick, by the time this thing is all said and done tomorrow night, every single draft pick the Vikings will have spent was acquired via trade. Between Michael Pierce trade, Stephen Weatherly trade, a couple other ones that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, and then Kwesi's antics in the last 2 nights. There was not a single organic pick that was made. They were all monkeyed with and sent otherwise and returned, and so that's pretty interesting that the analytics Wall Street GM indeed likes to wheel and deal. I will return tomorrow to go through rounds 4 through 7. We'll talk about some perhaps upside diamonds in the rough. Because otherwise, once you get down into the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, they're all just a bunch of lottery tickets, as the cliche goes. All I got for Saturday, and Skol, baby.